Beirut itself and speak to political analyst Ronnie Chatah. Ronnie, were you expecting these airstrikes by Israel across southern Beirut this evening, and how are people reacting?
Expecting them? I can't say that I was expecting them tonight, and I'll give you just context. This is the beginning of a holiday weekend. It's Al-Adha weekend, and I was out with friends, and Beirut was alive, the nightlife was alive. Yet, at the same time, this situation has happened already. 5 weeks ago, we had similar strikes in the southern suburbs. And I think what you're seeing, unfortunately, is that the status quo that was established post-ceasefire in November last year is untenable. In other words, you can have periods of calm where there are no Israeli strikes, and then suddenly an hour's notice and multiple strikes. Your earlier correspondent said 7. That's actually I think the 7th one happened as he was reporting, and the sounds of drones are buzzing. And unfortunately, this is familiar to what we went through last year. Except the point was to get out of this situation, and yet you have the Israelis in southern Lebanon, 5 hilltops, strategic sites that they deem necessary for them. Despite the ceasefire that went into effect, despite 1701, which calls on the Israelis to leave, and also you have Hezbollah that remains armed. That is a problem for Lebanon too, not just Israel, of course. That's a problem for the Lebanese state, how to deal with Hezbollah's weapons post-ceasefire and moving forward.
And on that point, I put that question to Mohammed, how you think Hezbollah will retaliate and if it can.
He's right. Hezbollah can retaliate, except that in 2025, circumstances have changed. And now you have a government that has, by cabinet decree, issued a call for the disarmament of all sub-state actors, including Hezbollah and also Palestinian groups that remain armed in this country. And the president himself has taken it upon himself to initiate a dialogue with Hezbollah on finding a path forward for disarmament. So the difference today is that Hezbollah has local pressure, state pressure against them to do anything that would escalate the situation. But despite that pressure, Hezbollah is not in the same position it was a few months ago. Hezbollah has been weakened tremendously, and Hezbollah fighters and the whole infrastructure of that group, I don't think they're looking for renewed conflict with Israel the way we saw it last year. But unfortunately, the conditions for continued violence, the way we've seen it play out since the end of last year, well into tonight, the conditions do not allow for Lebanon to fully recover and fully move on from war. That would require 2 things to happen. The Israelis have to go. They have to pull out. Hezbollah has to be dealt with in a way that does not cause internal civil strife, but that cannot be an excuse to delay the disarmament of this group. The Lebanese state should be able to handle all of these problems on their own, whether it's Hezbollah's drones production or other sub-state issues. The Lebanese state should be given the full political capacity to handle this issue. Without that, you're going to see this happen again.
Can you just clarify that point, the Lebanese state to be given the full capacity to tackle this issue, to disarm Hezbollah? Why don't they have the full capacity? Can they do that? And how much of a challenge will it be for the Lebanese army, the Lebanese government?
I appreciate this question. The path forward, unfortunately for Lebanon, is not only within Lebanon. Hezbollah remains an Iranian asset even in its weakened state. The Lebanese government cannot address this issue alone head-on with Iran. The foreign minister of Iran can visit the local foreign minister, they can discuss, they can have a frank conversation. That does not mean Iran will fully let go. This requires proactive, productive, regional diplomacy with Iran and finding a peaceful path for the Lebanese state to inherit Hezbollah and make sure Hezbollah is no longer the Iranian crown jewel that it was up until late last year. Diplomacy also delivered 1701, the Security Council resolution we still talk about today. Diplomacy, I think, is the preferred path for all actors. The failure of diplomacy is war. And the failure is what you're seeing play out right now. And by the way, It's not just talking about the situation, it's tens of thousands of Lebanese civilians fleeing their homes in the last few hours during a holiday weekend, and this also hurts the Lebanese economy. Nobody wants to visit a country at war. We're betting on a summer season, we're betting on money, we're betting on stability. Lebanese cannot have that unless this regional problem is addressed. Had this been a Lebanese local militia only, it would have been disarmed. It is not. It is Iran's asset in Lebanon, and as of now, Iran is not willing to let go of what it built in this country for the past 4 decades, even in its crippled, weakened state.
Ronnie, thank you so much indeed for putting these developments into context and for your analysis. Ronnie Chatah, political analyst, joining us live from Beirut. Thank you very much indeed.